How many people believe that hip hop as an art form and as an aggressive form of black art and imagination should have a home? Now, don't raise your hand yet. How many people believe that there should be a place where hip hop is archived, a place where the history is available through booklets or pamphlets or maybe even online by computer? How many people believe that there's a place, should be a place where hip hop teaches and gives people information that they can use for hip hop and for other things in their lives? How many believe there should be a place, a society, an academy, if you will, where awards are given for excellence in the field? How many people here believe that there should be a place where the records and the videos and the magazines and the photographs and the charts and the posters and the articles and on and on and on and on are kept for the future and preserved so that future generations will be able to understand what this form was, why it came to be, and why we were here? Now, if you believe this, raise your hand and keep it up. Now keep it up, because I want to ask you one more question. If you really do believe this, what have you done today, or even in the last week, to make sure this happens? Ask yourself this question. What is the proof of your belief? Okay. Put your hands down.
I grew up in New York, all of it. Bronx, Brooklyn, Staten Island, Queens, and Manhattan. And anyone that really lives in New York knows that New Jersey and Connecticut, even as far south as Philadelphia, is also part of our stomping grounds. My spiritual journey begins here, on the streets of New York. And for a long time, I couldn't understand why I could find no spiritual teacher that looked like me, or lived where I lived, or talked how I talked. All of the books that I've read and documentary films that I've seen, and even many of the audio lectures that I've heard, all pointed to locations, languages, and customs foreign to my or anyone else's urban reality. I grew up like everyone else, influenced by Christian, Islamic, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, and Yoruba faiths, among others. It was these great faiths that colored my perception as to what spirituality was and the steps prescribed to achieve either enlightenment, nirvana, bliss, freedom, or a place in heaven. But as I matured and became more and more successful as an MC or rapper, I realized that all religious and spiritual thought in the United States is foreign to the United States. That the United States of America has no indigenous religion or spiritual practice of its own. Even the various Christian and Islamic denominations started in the United States are still promoting a teaching foreign to the actual experiences of the American people. It is here that I began to question and research the origins and histories of the world's most celebrated religions, only to realize that all spiritual knowledge or awareness is cultural. With this new awareness, I turned to my own culture, hip-hop, and began to search the spiritual, philosophical, and cultural existences of it, hip-hop. I wondered to myself, who speaks for us spiritually, philosophically, and culturally? However, my immediate search came up blank. Hip-hop had no spiritual, philosophical, or cultural existence. Experiencing this, yet seeing our socio-political group, hip-hop, having no representation spiritually, philosophically, or culturally, I and several others began to organize the core beliefs, the core principles, and the core vision of hip-hop for its own preservation and further development. This presentation is a surface look at what it took to establish hip-hop as the global culture that it has become today.
Well, it started from myself. Hip-hop to me right now is like it's on the course of a relay. I was the first guy who would start off with the baton.
I don't know, but I heard the word hip, hip hop. We'll be jumping from the Iron Bird. Hip, hip hop.
From the beginning of hip-hop with Cool DJ Herc and Cindy Campbell at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx in 1973, this cultural baton has been passed through many hands. But in the end, this baton has come to rest with us at the Temple of Hip Hop. It is here that we continue the work to preserve and further develop hip hop into the global culture that it was meant to be. Through research and advice, we learned that when building a culture, a community, or a nation, it is important that your culture, community, nation is not just in your own head. When building a culture, it is important to have certain governmental, scientific, religious, and other community organizations recognize you as you see yourself. This is what led us not only to City Hall, but to the Riverside Church in Harlem as well.
We are hip hop. The vow of our temple is if we don't move, hip hop doesn't move. Others may have a vision, an opinion, a thought, a dream. But as I look out the window, ain't nobody moving.
So we started moving. Slogans like rap is something we do, hip hop is something we live, and we are not just doing hip hop, we are hip hop. Along with the I am hip hop philosophy, these ways of approaching hip hop electrified the streets and inspired many to begin seeing hip hop beyond entertainment.
Don't waste your mind. Each and every one of you in this room, believe in yourself.
It is here that we began to reach out to the members of Congress, City Council, the Mayor's Office, and the United Nations itself. It is these entities that we wanted to secure the support of first, because our first aim was to decriminalize hip-hop's culture in the eyes of law enforcement and other government agencies. This would clear the path for hip-hop to be recognized as a global culture of peace and prosperity, not just a music genre. Days later, both City Hall and the United Nations responded. We had to think fast. We realized that we were going to have to split up, with me, the Cold Crush Brothers, and the Tats crew going to City Hall while Harry and April went off to the United Nations to begin the planning of our conference there.
As you can see, this is the delegates' dining room, and we're examining the spot where the International Hip Hop Conference for Peace will be held here at the United Nations headquarters. My name is Hard-Hitting Harry, Meridian Entertainment, and we're just getting it together. We're about to really have a wonderful event next week. Hip Hop Appreciation Week begins May 14th through the 21st, and it's a week-long celebration of hip-hop culture. We will come together to promote and preserve hip-hop culture. At this event here on Wednesday, May 16th, we will be signing a document entitled the Hip Hop Declaration of Peace, whereas, record label executives, artists, clergy, whoever that may be, whoever's interested in furthering hip-hop culture will be coming together to sign this document to further peace. So, I don't know, I hope I said it right, but that's what it's all about. That's April Silver again. She will be organizing the event. I'll be coming in on the press side.
I don't think they're.
It's all good. All right. Let's finish our discussion.
And then we just wait.
Understand what's happening, that more and more of us are getting involved in the political arena. More and more of us are getting elected. I, for one, my memories of hip hop, I'm from the Bronx, and I remember as a young kid listening to the Sugar Hill Gang and breakdancing for my family, and I was like an entertainment whenever we had a holiday. And then when I got a little older, I remember going to Bronx River when African Bambaataa used to throw the jams out there. And then just a lot of times growing up with images and movies like Fort Apache of the Bronx, sometimes we had a low self-esteem and a low pride about the Bronx. We were during the late 70s and 80s. And then came this young man with a song called The South Bronx. the South Bronx, the South Bronx. And for me, that instilled a certain pride through the music that I was listening to. And it wasn't just about where I came from, it was about a form of mentality. Because he's the one who said, I am the teacher and others that came, that that's the title they earned well deserved, but without a crown, see, I still brother.
Those two columns at the far end, that'll also be another food station. And then we have a bar on the opposite side.
Right.
Back against that end wall here, all the way at the back, is where we'll have risers where the press can stand and film the speeches and whatever they need.
Right, okay.
Okay, we can take a walk back here. I'll show you what we need to do.
The preservation of any community requires a unity of thought, a code of conduct, a set of ethical principles that define the community and assist in the further development of that community. Hip-hop is the name of our community. So again, at the establishment of our community, it was important to have New York City officials recognize hip-hop as an independent community and culture.
And whereas hip-hop culture is the collective character of the hip-hop consciousness, and whereas the Temple of Hip-Hop is a hip-hop preservation society made up of attuned hip-hoppers that preserve and protect and promote the positive work of true hip-hop. Now therefore, be it resolved that I, Joni Vella, as council member of the city of New York, and by the powers vested in me, by the city charter of New York, hereby proclaim the 14th day of May, 2001 as Hip Hop Appreciation Day. And this will go down in history as being Hip Hop Appreciation Day for every single year there here in. Now I'd like to also send a message to the KRS-One. Knowledge remains great.
Having secured these official acknowledgments from the Bronx, as well as from New York City Council and the United States Senate, we then went to work designing our Hip Hop Declaration of Peace document. On that same day, the Tats crew and I met right outside of New York City Hall to discuss our Hip Hop Declaration of Peace document.
Here, down, blank, and if I get up,
So 3/4 of the board, you fill it up, and then the bottom will be that. Right. Fine. Let's remember though, but you're gonna have to have signing for about 5 to 10 years.
I just want to reiterate the question of the work of hip-hop and the continuum of that culture, that it is not a negative culture, it is a culture, an expression of our people, and it is one that we will continue to represent in a positive and uplifting way, and that we are here to represent the future of our generation. We are not only students of hip-hop, we are teachers of hip-hop, and we will continue to teach those who come under us the correct ways to live, the correct morals and correct values to follow.
As you can see, that hip-hop has grown up. We're no longer just represented by those who may do graffiti art, breaking, MCing or DJing or beatboxing. We're also now represented by government officials. As you can see, the brothers and sisters that spoke, they were not 14, they were not 17, they were not just individuals who did some sort of performance even. These are government officials who say, Chris, I got your first album and I believe in the cause, but here I am now city council, here I am now running for mayor, here I am now engaging in the social architecture of this city. And so here we are. This is the step. We're documenting our steps. This is one of the steps to have the support of the elected officials declaring hip-hop an international culture for peace.
Peace and much love. It's the Blastmaster KRS-One, and welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. So the piece you just saw was a movie that we was working on. Shout out to Sun One on the edits on that. we was working on this piece, and also shout out to Harry Allen. One of the things you saw at the beginning of that clip was this was the first time that Harry Allen, the media assassin, actually had hip hop in a room and asked the question, don't you think we should have a museum, an archive, basically a ministry, archive, school, and society? So shout out to everyone that participated. The names are too long to mention. You saw everybody there and so on. But this is part of the type of programming that we're looking to broadcast and promote and get more out there for people to understand. This is the transference of culture itself. So welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. We have not begun yet. We are just getting started. And what I'm going to do is still take another break real quick. I just wanted to intro our week this week. We're talking about Perform Action. And I'll be right back. Let me get myself together here as well. Check out this clip from BDP TV.
Big shout out to our sponsors, Monster Print and Merch. Here, provided us with the original BDP I Love Hip Hop shirt.
So what are you making right now?
The chicken wings, so barbecue chicken on the Conroe grill. So it's nice smoky, the barbecue sauce.
Peace, 55 Ludlow, Temple of Hip Hop, Newark, New Jersey, New Jerusalem. Big up to the chefs, big up to Tom, man.
Jeez.
Chef Lawrence, Chef Pierre, they finessing in the fucking kitchen, and the food is good. Apparently it's the best burgers that people ever had in their life, and it's right.
BDP Burger Company in the house.
Oh yeah.
BDP, burgers done properly.
Okay, so the barbecue is going good, the experience is good. So when I went in there and grabbed the burger, I was eating it. Usually I don't eat it with tomatoes or onions, but today I ate it because the burger was so good. Like, I'm saying that's probably the best burger I had. I had mad burgers in my life. I'm 25, I had a lot of burgers, but that burger, hands down, top 10.
Love the BDP event because I'm 55 and I grew up on KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions. I brought my wife, my 2 daughters, and my granddaughters. But not only that, when I came in here, I saw the sign Liquid Death. I was like, what? Come to find out, it's water. Very quenching to the thirst, very refreshing. Straight mountain water. Get up on it.
Actually, the death of Liquid Death is the killer of plastic. It's used aluminum, which is healthier than drinking. And then also recycling for the kids. Crush the cans, take it to the recycling center and get a lot of money. Nice bags of cash.
Peace and welcome to the Temple of Hip Hop. I am KRS-One. The Temple of Hip Hop is a hip hop preservation ministry, archive, school, and society. We started in 1996 with the affirmation, rap is something we do, hip hop is something we live. Since then, we've been preserving hip hop. We've been figuring out ways to keep our culture intact. The original aspect of the culture, breaking, MCing, graffiti, or DJing. The Temple of Hip Hop, over a 25, 30-year period, has been working behind the scenes to ensure that original hip hop, the original intent that we had for this culture, remains intact. This is also about the further expansion of hip hop as well. And that's what we're talking about today. Today, obviously, those who are studying with us, you also understand that we are reading the Divine Performance. This is in our Gospel of Hip Hop, the Divine Performance. And we're reading the 18 performances, basically the character of an attuned hip hopper. And so, reading through this, we are getting now to the 16th performance, which is Perform Action. Perform Action. Now, as you guys know, or should know, when we get to the 18th well, actually not even 18th, when we finish the divine performance, when we finish reading this chapter of the Gospel of Hip Hop, when we finish this, our readings will conclude. They will pause for a moment, meaning we will be off the air. There'll be at least a few Sundays will go by and we're dark, we're not happening, we're invisible. Then we re-emerge again with full production. I won't be coming to you like this anymore unless we will be doing something, something that requires this kind of production, this kind of setting. For the last 5 years since we started the Temple Calls, we've been meeting like this. We've been meeting wherever we can. We've been meeting in corners. We've been meeting at the temple. We've been meeting at 1520. We've been meeting everywhere. Now, this may still continue because our temple calls are actually going to advance and develop more, but the production is going to expand. Now, let me tell you a little about what's going on with that production. What's going to happen is that, well, let me go back to this, because some of you may be just with us now. Let me say this. The overall vision of the Temple of Hip Hop in terms of its advertising, its marketing, its promotion and announcement of itself. We talked about this months ago, but let me just bring it back to the forefront. That what we're going to have to do as part of the preservation of hip hop is find alternative ways of presenting our culture, alternative ways of presenting hip hop in its original form. So one of the first things we decided to do was to try to secure a community center or several community centers around the country and call them temples for hip hop. And this way, where you have other corporations and well, really just corporations buying up public spaces, buying up performance spaces, and shutting out local artists or artists that don't sell millions of records or stream millions of songs. The community center becomes that place where you can go. New talent can be found. Artists can have an alternative economy even. If we have enough of these temples, and for us, the model is the Temple of Hip Hop, but anybody that has an idea like this can form models for where hip hoppers can go to perform, bring a crowd in, form an economy. So the Temple of Hip Hop begins as that economy. We're here at 55 Ludlow Street, Newark, New Jersey. And at 55 Ludlow Street, Newark, New Jersey, this is the prototype for the temples we'd like to see all over the world. So the Temple of Hip Hop in Newark, New Jersey, Brick City, Temple of Hip Hop over there serves as a model for what we want all temples to be. And this is also an alternative to, the corporate regular venue that you go to, and it's owned by some conglomerate that has like 100 of these venues around the country. The Temple of Hip Hop, taking over community centers, offers a new space for hip hop, an alternative space for hip hop to meet and express itself outside of commercial restrictions or agendas. Now that's the community center side. You've heard me say as well that we need to look at radio. Now whether that means we go to commercial radio or any of these stations and try to get a Temple of Hip Hop show on a Sunday night or something like this, there's that. But there's also, again, the alternative. What's the alternative to commercial radio, regular radio? I'm here in New York, or we're stationed there in the tri-state area, New York, Connecticut, New Jersey. There's commercial stations that service this area. What are the other what's the alternative to this? You have internet radio, you have college radio, you know, and you got boom boxes, or it's not these days. You have people's cars, or you know, you have other ways that people hear music, and you can't negate these ways. Keep in mind, some people, they only look at the radio, and they say, if my stuff is not on the radio, it's not being heard, and that's not true. Your stuff can be heard just out the backseat of somebody's car. That is just as viable as a radio station. Of course, the radio is millions of people at one time, and people get caught up in that. But if you really want to build your career and get your music heard, then you build your career one person at a time, and you get your music heard one ear at a time, or, you know, one head at a time. In that sense, so where's the alternatives to the commercial market? We're not dissing the commercial market. We work in the commercial market. Like I said, we play these venues, big arena venues and stuff, and we also look at commercial radio. You know, we may roll up on Hot 97. We may roll up on WBLS. We may roll up on one of these stations, you know, in New York that play hip hop and grab ourselves a show or something. But it's about the marketing of the Temple of Hip Hop. It's about the marketing of original hip hop in that sense. So what's the alternative marketing if you can't get in to the commercial radio? How do you get in? How do you get your message heard over the airwaves? You got college radio. You got, and like I said, internet radio and so on. We have to use those means. We can't just say, oh, I know they're there, and then we don't have a platform or a format in those areas. So we're pursuing this now. We're pursuing this. Moving over to television, we talked about public access TV as the alternative. You have cable, and everybody's cable TV has some sort of a public access provider, or you know, show or something that's going on in that sense. What we're looking to do is get into the public access space. And those little, you know, those weird shows you see, not weird, everybody's show deserves respect. We might come on and look like a weird show. But one of these, you know, these shows, those shows you turn on, sometimes public access is good, sometimes it's not. You know, sometimes it has something you want to see, and most times it doesn't. Public access is also where, you know, the government channels are. City council has their meetings, and you can see them on public access. And others that are talking about things going on, usually local news in the city. Here's what's happening. You can get that on public access. So we're looking at public access television as an alternative to commercial, you know, I don't want to call anybody's name, but the video shows that come on cable or on television or whatever. The alternative to this, for us to be seen and to promote our temple, is public access TV. So we'll go into public access TV, blow that out, and make a name for ourselves in that arena. I'll come back more on this later. But I mentioned all of this because what we want to do is not only find alternative ways of presenting the Temple of Hip Hop straight to the public, but also, like I mentioned, we're going to go down after we read the Divine Performance and we're finished with that chapter of the Gospel of Hip Hop. We will be at the top of Hip Hop Appreciation Week, and then we pause for a moment, and then resume really as an all-out television show. We want to step up our production and possibly even come on public access television. So that's where we're at right now with that. And let me continue also with our announcements as well. I mentioned Hip Hop Appreciation Week. May 13th to May 19th, 2024. We're celebrating on both coasts. We're celebrating everywhere. Anyone who wants to participate can. But as far as hardcore physical events, the Temple of Hip Hop is having its East Coast events at 55 Ludlow Street, Newark, New Jersey, and the Temple of Hip Hop West Coast is having its events. We're going to be at the Whiskey. I'm actually going to be on the West Coast. We're going to be at this spot called the Whiskey, formerly called Whiskey A Go-Go. It's a famous club, but it's now called the Whiskey. They're on Sunset Boulevard, California. I'm going to be over there with a couple of friends ripping it down, as you know. But that kicks off the week. And that's May 12th, 2024, just before the 13th. This is Sunday, also Mother's Day that day as well. A lot going on at the beginning of Hip Hop Appreciation Week this year. So then we have the week. May 13th through to the 19th. You know that we have the masterclass at the end of the week, May 18th, 19th, May 18th, May 17th, 18th, and 19th is the masterclass on the West Coast. It looks like we're going to do UCLA. We're going to be at UCLA doing that. We're still negotiating that as I speak to you. Then, of course, in June, 14th, 15th, 16th, it's our regular straight up and down masterclass. The Hip Hop Cultural Specialist Masterclass. That's what both of these classes are. The one in Cali is May 17th, 18th, 19th. Go to thetempleofhiphop.org and register right now if you haven't. June 14th, 15th, 16th, we're over in New Jersey and New York. New York is 1520 Sedgwick Avenue. We start the class there. The next 2 days, we're in Jersey at the Temple of Hip Hop. We continue and then conclude the class right there. That's the Hip Hop Cultural Specialist Masterclass. Go to thetempleofhiphop.org for more information, and you could also register right there. Keep in mind also that the Temple of Hip Hop has a new phone number. We're transitioning. It's not like one number's cut off and the other one jumped back on. The old number was 973-242-3929. That was the old number. The new number is 973-524-6816. That's 973-524-6816. That's the new number for the Temple of Hip Hop at 55 Ludlow Street, Newark, New Jersey. So, like I mentioned, our read today is Perform Action. Excuse me, Perform Action. And let's just get into it, actually. Got my gospel right here. And if you have your Gospel of Hip Hop, you can actually turn to page 184 of the Gospel of Hip Hop. That's page 184 of your Gospel of Hip Hop. I'm open to the Gospel of Hip Hop, and we're going to read Perform Action. Perform Action. Let's get into this. Perform action. The most important thing to know of oneself is one's purpose. Now, you know, every time we read the Divine Performance, the very first line and the very first paragraph sums up the entire read. Let's do it again. The most important thing to know of oneself is one's purpose. The fulfillment of one's purpose is the cause of true joy and happiness. Do not become idle or live without purpose. Although you may be still seeking your purpose, perform action. Never just sit around being unaware of the effects of your actions or your non-actions. This is what it means to perform your action, to be conscious, to be hip to your action, to how you are acting or expressing yourself. The attuned hip-hopper shows others through example what righteousness, love, justice, charity, and overstanding looks like. The attuned hip-hopper is aware of how her actions, or his actions, teach society. Such a hip-hopper knows that every social act is a lesson performed in and for one's family, friends, and larger society. So when you out there in the street or amongst other people, if you representing something or you are conscious that you're representing something. You hold yourself out a certain way. Most people who are individual in their own mind, they can't comprehend this piece right here about moving as a collective, knowing that you represent not just you, but there's something else larger or more important than you that you represent. Think about that for a minute. What do you represent that's larger than you? Or do you just represent yourself? When you go out in the street, do you remember your family? Do you remember your place of work, maybe? That, you hold a uniform, and that uniform means something in society. When you walk out with that uniform, do you remember you're wearing a uniform that commands a certain respect? Perform your actions. For every cause or act, there is an effect or response. Be aware of what you cause to exist through your thinking and your actions. We are the offspring of our own actions. We actually create ourselves through action. Let me say that again. That's deep. We are the offspring of our own actions. You see, there lies success right there. You are the offspring. You don't have to wish for success or guess for success or wait for something to happen for you to be successful. Your actions create your success or your failure. For every cause or act, there is an effect or response. Be aware of what you cause to exist through your thinking and your actions. We are the offspring of our own actions. We actually create ourselves through action, which is motivated by purpose. So what is your purpose? If you lack direction or purpose in life, focus your mind upon the actions of your teacher. Whatever your teacher is, whatever you consider your teacher to be, focus on those acts. What is informing you? This is the first way for you to locate purpose. What do you respect as your informer? And what is it informing you? If you don't yet know or have not decided what your purpose actually is, what the meaning of you actually is, focus your mind upon the actions of your teacher. Now, and look at it. Religiously, that could be Muhammad, that could be Buddha, that could be Krishna, Jesus, Yeshua. These are your teachers. Philosophically, it could be Aristotle, Socrates, Plato, Hegel, Rene Descartes, Francis Bacon. It could be, on the philosophy side, whatever it is. What is your teacher? If it's hip hop, it's KRS-One and others. Who is your instructor? If you don't have a purpose or don't know your purpose or seeking purpose and you're not there yet, focus on what your teacher is doing. This will at least protect you and guide you toward your purpose. Pay attention to the way that your teacher performs in action and imitate those performances. Know that your teacher is impartial to success or failure. See how your teacher is not attached to the effects of the act. Feel how your teacher not only gives, but sacrifices. This is the harder part now. We're moving into a harder piece on action. We don't just give, we sacrifice for others. Because we're strong enough to. When you're performing your actions, sometimes you have to sacrifice for other people. It's tough. We talked about this with perform responsibility. How being forced to do something, forced to work, brings in you a certain character that's unexplainable. It's almost illogical. But anybody who has went through that kind of struggle, that kind of training, you came out better on the other side for it. And here we are with actions And in this case, we're talking about sacrifice again. Talking about sacrifice again. The attuned hip hopper understands that even while acting, we do nothing at all. Now, this is another part of the lesson. This is a deeper part that has to do with God now guiding our direction. G-O-D, guiding our direction. This has to do with guilt. This has to do with God. This has to do with freedom. Let me show it to you. The attuned hip hopper understands that even while acting, we do nothing at all. The attuned hip hopper knows that all is the great oneness deity, and it is only God that actually acts. This is the enlightenment right here. This is it. When we are eating, breathing, talking, walking, working, driving, etc., we really do nothing at all. Only God, through nature, is moving, which gives us the temporary appearance of movement. The attuned hip hopper does not act nor causes action when it is understood that all action is the divine performance of God. We are actually the effects of God in action. I mean, I get that. I just try to understand, because this is another piece. I'm giving you two pieces. The first part we talked about was self-responsibility and your purpose in life and your meaning in life, and perform your actions and know and be conscious that you are either going to perform your actions or perform your inaction. This is self-respect. This is self-direction, self-determination. The responsibility you got to put on yourself. That's the first half of this lesson. Perform action. But now we're looking at action from a universal point of view, which frees us, the attuned hip hopper, frees us from guilt, and also expands our mind. Expands our being, I should say. Expands the mind as well. But you now know that you're part of something larger. And when you really give up that individualism and unite with something larger, you also set that bag down, that bag of guilt, that bag of doubt, that bag of fear. You set that bag down. Because it's not you really doing anything. And look, this is ancient wisdom I'm giving you right now. The Hindus speak about this as well. About how if you realize that it's not you acting, then how can you have a karma? How can you be responsible for your actions if you've given your life to God? You've given your life to God, so there's no, you're not acting. You're not acting. Anything you're doing is really God doing it through you or as you. And this is also a level of righteousness, because you know your conception of God is not evil. Your conception of God is not sickness, hatred, ignorance, poverty. No, that's not your vision of God. That ain't even what God is bringing to you. God is bringing you life, peace, prosperity. God wants you to live and be happy. This is science. That's not religion. This is real talk right here. And not that science is any real talk. But what I'm trying to say here is that you don't have to believe this. You can just look at nature itself. Nature wants to live. Nature wants to reproduce. Nature wants to be healthy, vibrant, and strong. And nature wants you to be the same way. So when you become a child of nature, not a child of the world, when you become a child of nature, you realize that you just like the trees and the air and the fire and the water. Do these things take responsibility for their actions? Now, of course, you can say, but Chris, come on, man, we human beings. And also, let me also say, we're not getting away from responsibility. We just read perform responsibility, okay? We're not getting away from that. This is a deeper lesson. In conjunction with performing your responsibilities, in conjunction with sacrifice, self-sacrifice, in conjunction with knowing your purpose and meaning in life, also know deeper, God is at the helm of everything. So if you can get to this, you'll read your life right from where it is. Because right where you are is where God needs you to be. You may not like it. You may not agree with it. You may say, what is my purpose? What's my meaning? I want purpose and meaning. That's right to ask those questions, to want to perform your act, to be conscious of yourself. But I'm giving you a deeper lesson that may ease the tension of not yet having your purpose or not yet meeting the meaning of yourself. Give your life to God. Give your mind over to a larger experience that's guiding you towards your ultimate victory. Listen to this. I'm going to read paragraph 5. When we are eating, breathing, talking, walking, working, driving, etc., we really do nothing at all. Only God through nature is moving, which gives us the temporary appearance of movement. The attuned hip-hopper does not act nor causes action when it is understood that all action is the divine performance of God. We are actually the effects of God in action. Like when the wind blows dried leaves across the road, the leaves have no sense of the wind blowing them along, yet the leaves move. Physical bodies have movement in a similar way. Forces, or winds, blow against us and push us toward this circumstance or that circumstance. We must learn to navigate the forces, winds of life toward the fulfillment of our life's purpose. This is the deeper piece right here about how life has winds with it. In fact, life has seasons with it. Those that walk this path, you know, sometimes season is bright and sunny. Sometimes it's rainy. Sometimes it's rainy and cold. Sometimes it's a light drizzle. And what is this light drizzle, rain, snow? What is it? It's like sometimes you're riding high in life, you got everything you want. Then the next day you don't. One moment you're healthy and feeling great. Next minute you're down with a sickness, some sort of a flu or cold. Life has seasons, and these things, when you walk a righteous life, when you seek the spiritual path, when you seek to be an attuned hip-hopper, you navigate the seasons. Like just recently, I don't know about y'all, but I and others, I've been getting messages as well, I and others have experienced a financial drought over the last 4 months. Not that, we was totally broke or whatever, but things came, like for instance, first we're riding high with tens of thousands of dollars coming in, and we're doing this and we're doing that. Then life itself slows down the money flow. People ain't calling. Shows fall out. Whole tours disappear. And now your money's crunched a little bit. But you gotta know that this ain't the first time your money's been crunched. You gotta know that this is a season. Because most times when people's money get crunched, they think it's the end of the world. And they start making desperate decisions, trying to outrun the storm, but running with it. There's another section in the gospel called the seasons, and we talk about this as well. That the wise allows the season to pass over them. We don't jump around and, oh my God, it's nobody got no money, inflation, the mortgage is up, and da-da-da. We understand, first of all, we have memory. And most people who are masters of this path, you have 100 other examples of how supernatural forces got you out of your situation. Others may say, man, that's BS. What's supernatural? Man, I don't even believe God. I don't even, whatever. You know that you was here on Monday with no way out. Tuesday came and you found a way out. A way came to you by Wednesday. You know that happened to you. You know you was sick, feeling like this is it. I should write my will. I'm going to die. And suddenly the sickness went away and you hopped up off the bed, feeling great. In fact, feeling more strong. The sickness did not defeat you, it completed you. These are the tenets of this kind of path, which is why we call it a divine performance. Sure, you're going to be low on money. You're going to be sick sometimes. You're going to make mistakes in ignorance. I didn't know. These things happen in life. But if you don't have a firm footing in your spiritual understanding, these things destroy your life. You don't learn from them. You don't rise from them. You just sit in guilt. Oh, well, I didn't do what I did and I didn't say what do and die. No, I'm telling you right here, this is an ancient wisdom. That you ain't the only one in control of your life. You're not the only thing going on in life. And once you realize that life has its own agenda and doing its own thing, once you realize that God don't agree with nobody's lifestyle, like, these people running around, God don't agree with your lifestyle. God don't agree with your lifestyle. God don't agree with nobody. Who comes up to, they say all fall short of the glory of God. Everybody, okay? So if God can tolerate all of our lifestyles, those that walk with God has to find the tolerance for other people's lifestyle. Like when the wind blows dried leaves across the street, the leaves have no sense of the wind blowing them along, yet the leaves are moving. Physical bodies have movement in a similar way. Forces, winds, blow against us and push us toward this circumstance or that circumstance. We must learn to navigate the forces, winds of life toward the fulfillment of our life's purpose. Navigate the wind towards your life purpose. However, such navigation has more to do with allowing the force to carry you without getting in your own way. Now notice, some of you may have been sick. You're coming out of the sickness right now. Some of you may have had financial difficulties or a drought on the money coming in. That's now looking up. It's opening up now. The clouds are going away. The money's coming in. Others were looking for assistance in areas that they didn't see no assistance in before. Right now, we're coming out of this period, so you're going to see the assistance you need right now. And usually, it comes from unfamiliar, unsuspecting places. Don't be too judgmental on where the assistance is going to come from, because God is infinite and universal. And so, if you're a praying person, if you're an affirming person, and you're affirming and praying that this opportunity is going to open for you, or better times are coming for you, or you're going to come out of this sickness, or you're going to come out of whatever it is. If you're a praying person, these are the techniques to follow. Those that don't follow the prayer life, those that are not spiritual or philosophical or whatever it is, if you ain't got your gospel, if you're not, with some kind of path, then this is not for you. In fact, it's dangerous for you to even try any of this because you're not walking the path. So you could hear it, and it may help you in other areas, but I'm talking to those that actually walk this path, those who have been reading their gospel over the last 5 years with me on these Sunday calls. Those who have been consistent on these Sunday calls. You're walking a certain path. Don't walk with your head down. Walk with your head up. Good times are on their way. Look at it. However, such navigation has more to do, the navigation like to use life circumstances and situations as winds that blow you towards your purpose. Such navigation has more to do with allowing the force to carry you without you getting in your own way. Spiritual navigation has to do with allowing God to guide your life. It's about God's leadership in your life. Some people regard God's leadership in their lives as a choice. They say, I now give my life to God, as if they had the authority to do such a thing. The leadership of God in your life is not a choice. It is the truth. It's a realization, an awakening, a new awareness, a sense of giving up and letting go on your part. See, this is what releases you from karma and sin and all of this stuff. It's a realization, an awakening, a new awareness, a sense of giving up and letting go on your part. The leadership of God is happening now. It is you who must realize this by releasing your fears, doubts, and disbeliefs about your own God force. We must get in harmony with what God is already doing in our lives. This is where your purpose comes from. This is where your meaning comes from. God is this right now. It's us that are in ignorance. It's us that are blind. It's us that's disobedient. It's us that's afraid. It's us that doubts. But God is right now. And if you could come to that realization, God is right now, then look at your purpose right now. Look at what you're doing right now. Look at how you're doing it right now. This may be your purpose. Look at it. Know this. When our will is not the will of our God, we naturally begin to experience pain and suffering. Our will, the will of our God is for hip hop is to be joyous, at peace, and prosperous. Our God's will is occurring long before we come to realize it. And those things which happen against our will are usually for our own good. That's only for those on the path, though. For God sustains life itself. You do not choose God, God chooses you. Because life is sustained by God, every act of the hip-hopper should be performed as a tribute and sacrifice to God. No work or person is too difficult to deal with when all is done as a tribute and service to your God. With this, the attuned hip-hopper escapes the cycles of cause and effect because the attuned hip-hopper causes nothing and is detached from everything. Only God is moving, acting, and speaking. See, that is so relieving. That's just so relieving. And if you could practice this, I tell you, it helped me in my life. Difficult people, difficult situations, situation look like you're never going to get out of it. No, if you're working on behalf of God, now you know why you're there. I'm not working on behalf of myself. So it don't matter whether I fail, succeed, win, lose, be embarrassed, be held up, whatever, it don't matter. I'm here. I'm not here for that. I'm here for God. So if you're here on behalf of the most high intelligence, here on the behalf of the divine mind of God, if you're here on behalf of love, then there is no difficulties. In fact, there is no sin, there is no karma. You are not even doing anything. You are God in action. And every action you do is God really doing it. You want what God wants. God wants what you want. You move like God. God moves like you. You eat like God, sleep like God, talk like God. God eats like you, talks like you, sleeps like you. When I and the Father are one. It's that realization that frees you from all this other nonsense that's holding you back from your purpose. From your purpose. And the true meaning of who you are. Here's the last line. Perform difficult activities knowing this. Look at it. Perform difficult activities knowing that you're performing on behalf of God. So when people laugh at you, scoff at you, when people don't want to support you, don't want to help you, when it looks like there's nothing, whatever it is. No, you are not alone. God is always with you. And there must be evidence for this. There must be proof for this. Some of us who have already walked this path, we already have piled up our evidence so we can speak with confidence. Some of you are new to this, and you're going to have to pile up your evidence. But let me tell you, when you pile up the evidence, oh man, because the evidence brings you closer and closer to the revelation that you are not alone, that God is with you. Here's the last paragraph. E.L. Magoon, a philosopher, once said, quote, "Existence was given us for action. Rather than indolent and aimless contemplation. Our worth is determined by the good deeds we do rather than by the fine emotions we feel. They greatly mistake who suppose that God cares for no other pursuit than devotion." End quote. Perform action. So that's our read today. And again, I want to thank you for joining us on that read. And like I said, we're getting closer to the end of our divine performance. And when we get to the end of this particular read from our Gospel of Hip Hop, we will pause, we will sunset, we will pause, and when we return, it's going to be a bigger production. And like I said, we'll be online, obviously, but it'll be a bigger production in that sense. So thank you for attending these courses, these classes. We're coming to the end of this style in that sense. And I'm just contemplating it because, wow, it's been like 5 years doing it like this, hardcore kind of style. But now we're about to put the makeup on and get the lighting right. It's crazy. But you'll always have this to return to and go back to. We're now going to create another archive. Now, a larger archive. We're going to interview other artists. We're going to be bringing people in, have guest speakers, so on and so on. So there it is, y'all. KRS-One, the Temple of Hip Hop. Every Sunday, 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we get down just like this. Thanks, y'all. I'll see you next week.